Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're just landing here. Good to be with you always. Checking in on my usual Fridays. I try to check in with you all and do my political readings on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So please hit that like and subscribe and notification bell as well, so you'll know when I've got a new video up. Today, wow, Woo, I have literally been sitting here, I kid you not, for about an hour, you all, just in prayer and meditation with spirit, because my mind was just going in like 10 different directions of what I should read on today. And so me and spirit got together. I had to sit with the council and get my energy together. And also another thing, for those of you who read tarot, and I have said this, I teach it in my classes. I don't read when I'm agitated, and I highly recommend that you don't. Like, if you're agitated, or even if you're just, your mind is going really, warp speed, that can impact your pulls, right? So I don't do this until I have gotten my act together, and I'm feeling calm and centered, and I hope you are well, put it that way. All right. Okay. Good news. I'm trying to start these political reads out always with just even a bit of good news, because goodness knows we need it. Couple of things. Many of you may have heard, but just in case you have not, Utah and Missouri with this gerrymandered map situation. So the Utah Supreme Court has said, nope, not this map. This gerrymandered map will not do. They have punted it back to the legislature and said, you can go ahead and try another one if you want, but this one will not do. So check with that. Also, Missouri, we know that 45, we'll call them that today. 45 was putting out the edicts to, his folks in the red states, and saying, we need more seats, do what you got to do, right? Texas jumped on it like that. So Missouri was, first in line, or next in line, I should say, to go ahead and get some things going. And the voters are, apparently there's going to be a referendum. It's got to go. They're collecting enough signatures, or almost enough signatures, to get it on a ballot. So, the voters are saying, hold up, wait a minute. It's not up to the legislature to decide what this is going to look like. We have a voice in this process. So bravo to Missourians. Let's see how that actually turns out. And the third bit of good news is, I know many of us are highly anticipating two appearances that are coming up early next week. By Kamala Harris, in anticipation of the release of her book. Got a siren going by if there's a little noise in the background. Sorry about that. So the release of her book is on Tuesday, the official release. I have ordered my copy. Cannot wait. May even do a book club around that spirit. I just heard, but we'll get into that later. Drop a note in the comments if you'd be interested in doing something like that. Like maybe have a live session. I'd host a live session, and we'll talk about that book for those of us who decide to read the book. But here's the deal. So she's going to be on with Rachel, none other than Rachel Maddow, on Monday. Her show is on Mondays on MSNBC. We know that. So she's going to be on with Rachel Maddow. Woo! Like, I'm getting chills, you all. That is going to be something. Like, record it. Do what you got to do, to see that one. That's going to be quite something. And also the following day, Tuesday, the official day of the release of her book, she's going to be on The View. Now, Spirit gave me the term tariffs around free speech, right? We all know what has happened, and it's been, nonstop coverage, etc., around Kimmel. And now we're hearing that ABC is trying to go back and perhaps have some talks with Kimmel about what to do, because he, unlike Colbert, where they on CBS, where they said the show is gone as of May 2026, with Kimmel, it was this, indefinite suspension of the show. I'm not so sure at this point that he would, under any circumstances, come back. I am getting that we can perhaps expect a lawsuit. I was seeing some things on social media saying that he had already filed a $1 billion lawsuit against ABC. Kimmel had. I have not been able, I'm taping this pretty early Friday morning. Who knows, during the day we may hear some more developing news around that. But I'm not getting, I could not find where that lawsuit had yet been filed. But I will say, and Spirit is, is saying that should he do so, he's got him, my little sleeve getting caught on the chair. He's got them down, like that the violation of surely his contract, the fact that what he said in his monologue was completely taken out of context. Like, he's gonna pay big time. They would pay big time behind that. Um, Hulu subscription canceled on my end. I don't know about the rest of you all. And by the way, I saw some things on media that said Hulu had made their website, had done something to configure their website that you could not cancel it there. You would have to go to your payment source to do so. I was able to go and cancel it directly on the website. So just putting that out there, should you be inclined to make that statement, right? All right, so that's good news that voices, despite these tariffs, is what Spirit said, tariffs on free speech that are being implemented by Trump et al., that it's simply what it's doing is just adding fuel to the fire among people to make sure that their voices are not silenced. I was really, I don't know about you all, but I was really like, woo, hit me right here in the chest. Eric, what's his name? Eric Swalwell out of California, he came right out and said point blank to regarding Brendan Carr, look, dude, 2026, when we take over the House, not if, when we take over the House, you better lawyer up, because you're gonna be high up on the list of people that need to get dealt with, right? And situations that need to get rectified through the justice system. So he came out and that just hit because it felt like, whoa, that's gonna happen. Spirit has said, you all, on this channel, many other platforms as well, part of why 45 is going through so much of this to try and essentially stop the free and fair elections of 2026, right? Put as many impediments in place as he can, is because of this fear of, for him as a narcissist, what could be, what the House then could do to try and deal with him, right? But also further down that list, on and on the list goes. We've got Bondi, we've got Kash Patel, we've got Hegseth, we've got all of this cast of characters who have fallen in line behind 45, and that in at the end of the day, I even wrote it down in my notes while I was meditating. Long arm of justice. We will see, mark my words, you all, we will see so much, and that is what they are terrified of, that there is going to be justice meted out against so many who have not only just fallen into or bent the knee to 45, but who have actually been complicit in illegal acts, point blank period, for entertainment purposes only, right? Okay. I want to see. So having said that, what I also heard this morning was, and many of us have been talking about it. So as free speech is under attack, as mainstream media is choking off itself, even those with good intentions, and reputable journalists whose voices now they've got to, we're hearing there are people in newsrooms, both television, newspapers, are terrified because they know that should they cover a story with, in an unbiased manner or truthfully, that we're seeing proof positive of where this can lead. I am getting you all, there's some sort of, I want to call it new media, but some sort of shift that's coming in how corporate media will be done. I don't think that it's just going to be up to us. Let me do a couple of cards. By the way, I'm reading today for those of us who are interested in readers, I know I have a lot of readers on the channel, the Uncommon Tarot. I don't think that what my spirit guides are saying is this is not just going to be a matter of Americans having to search out different sources for truth in in information, right? Substack, Midas Touch, Democracy Docket, so many others, right? That are really doing a phenomenal job of trying to provide information and news. So many incredible channels on YouTube, even Blue Sky, Threads. There really is an incredible effort to counter what is being done by these corporate entities to squash real information, true information, and any sort of, anything that really reflects the full voices of the American public. But I'm getting that there's going to also be, you all, I keep hearing Soros. I don't know if it's Soros himself, his foundation, someone like a George Soros, but there's a lot of money out there. I'm also wondering, as strange as I'm saying this, and I'm looking with one eye at my guides right now because I just heard Murdoch. Now, before y'all get on that keyboard, like, all right, Fefe, you've gone too far. I'm not saying that the Murdoch empire is going to switch lanes or change horses necessarily. But we know there is that lawsuit. We know that Wall Street Journal did put out that they were one of the first to break that birthday book story in that card that 45 allegedly did. So I'm hearing something along the lines of, let me spray. I'm hearing something along the lines of, don't give up the idea that we will still have a consolidated, is the word that I'm getting, a consolidated media source. Essential oils, somebody's going to ask me, essential oils. A consolidated media a news source, similar to what we have traditionally relied on with an ABC or a CBS or whatever, because having to go to so many different sources to compile information, the Substacks, the threads, etc. You get it. Having to do that is hard. It's difficult. It's not like we won't do it, and we've been doing it, and we're doing it even more. But I just feel Spirit is saying, don't give up hope. Don't throw our hands up and feel that because these corporate interests have become so corrupted and have bent the knee, that it's over. That version of it may be over, but it is the idea of having centralized. We have the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck after I shuffled, so that feels like movement toward it, you all. But knights are also new and fresh, not so much, not in the same way that a page is, but even better in the sense that it's more developed. In a knight's energy, there's movement already underway. There are discussions already underway. I wonder, especially with these latest attacks on any form of, going back to tariffs on free speech, that the attacks on nonprofits, which would include entities like an NPR or a PBS, that there are talks. This Knight of Wands feels like there's talks underway, meetings underway. Spirit, will we see, or are there these meetings underway by others? There's the Ten of Pentacles. It's about, how do we get the money? How do we get the money to launch? Because a lot of what we have on social media, Substack, of course, if you're really into that content creator, you got to pay. But there are many ways to get information without paying. But that Ten of Coins with that Knight of Wands says there's efforts already underway to build some sort of financial infrastructure to launch a different type of major media channel. I don't know if that's cable, streaming, and we have the Emperor. All right, y'all, we got our confirmation. Notice the Emperor also, just as we started with that Knight of Wands, fire, movement, a passion about it. We must do this. We got to raise the money to do this. We got to come together and figure out what exactly, have that framework to be able to launch it. But then here comes the Emperor, also fire energy, ruled by Mars and Aries, and leadership, vision. How do we do this? Watch for it, you all. I feel like that's an absolute confirmation. Spirit, will this come to pass Will this come to pass within a year or prior to the 2026 midterms? Will we see something come out prior to? We have Strength, Eight of Wands. This is an incredible. Wait a minute. No, this is actual Strength Major Arcana. Excuse me, Spirit. Need my glasses on this morning. This is Major Arcana Strength. More fire. Ruled by Leo. More fire. We're going to see something before the 2026 midterms. And maybe even sooner than that. I'm feeling, because of all this fire is, fan the flames. There is something, we may see something sooner rather than later. And I am wondering if, in fact, we've heard the talk. Kimmel, who is based out of Hollywood, may be a deciding factor in launching. We've got Colbert on the sidelines. He's there until May. He's going to do some interesting things between now and May, right? We've even heard, there's been this push, like, bring Kimmel on. Like, we would pay to see you bring Kimmel on your show, and, like, you guys just do your thing, let it rip. See what happens, Will that happen? Why not? I got the deck sitting right here. Spirit, will we see Kimmel on Colbert's show? Will Colbert host Kimmel on his show? I have the Seven of Coins. He certainly is considering it, and the idea is whether or not Kimmel would, because I get it. Thank you, Spirit. Because right now, Kimmel has not been technically canceled. He's been suspended. So the assessment that's being made in the Seven of Pentacles is, contractually and otherwise, Kimmel has to be very, very careful right now, and will be very careful about his moves. Should he even decide. I don't see him continuing at ABC, regardless. They may want to go back and talk to him. Spirit, is Kimmel going to actually leave ABC? We have the Three of Pentacles. I think he wants to work. This goes back to, will there be other media? Three of Pentacles is a card of collaboration. This shows that a couple of things would work there. One is they are trying to backtrack a little bit. They're trying to serve ABC execs, is what I'm saying. Disney execs. They're trying, or what's it, Nexstar, or whatever the real parent company is that's doing all of this. They're trying to serve two masters. On the one hand, they realize this man could sue the pants off of them because of what they're doing. On the other hand, they want that deal to go through the FCC. I forget what it is, some big merger that was planned that apparently had a lot to do with why all of this happened in the first place. That because of their greed and desire for growth, and to get this deal to go through, that has to be approved by the FCC. So that they're serving two masters. They want what they want. They want to get smoothed over with the FCC, but they also realize Jimmy Kimmel is nothing to play with. And he's got not only contractual grounds to really put it to them, but he also has enough pull in Hollywood, etc., that he could be a major factor in launching some sort of they keep giving me the word corporate, but let's not get turned off by that. I think we have been so much because of what we've seen these corporate entities do, but a new media, a new way of approaching it. They know that he has that power. And we have we got the Tower. He's going to break away from them. There's no going back. The disrespect, the unfairness, the absurdity is what Spirit just said. The absurdity of what has, him being targeted. Because if you even somebody who, isn't really all there could watch that monologue and somehow determine it was not what they painted it to be. It was in no shape, form, or fashion true hate speech regarding that guy whose name at this point I'm tired of saying. Last name starts with a K. So we're going to see something, you all. And Spirit says it's going to be sooner rather than later, around the formation of some sort of media entity that will coalesce or be what's the word they're giving me, clearinghouse almost, so that American people don't have to continue to feel like they've got to parse out and sit, for 4 hours a day going to different, content creators or websites just to try and glean and stay on top of what's happening. Somehow that news is going to be centralized, but it's going to come from new people, and perhaps even someone like a Kimmel launching it or helping to launch it as an exec producer or something along those lines. Keep your eyes on that. I really think that's going to happen, you all. All right, second thing I want to look at today, and Spirit gave me in this one. This is part of what kept me in meditation so long and just talking to Spirit, because it's heavy. Warn you ahead of time. So get your oils, drink. I got coffee here because it's early. Get your water or whatever. But this is an aha thing, and I can't ignore it. I tried. I was like, Spirit, I don't want to do this, and it's like, let's talk a little longer. All right. So while we've all been caught up in the CK situation, free speech situation, still staying on top of the Epstein files, and that's where I'm going. The release of the Epstein files. We found out, or I found out, many of you may have as well, that underneath in the shadows, the House apparently has put forth a bill. I think it has been passed. Double check me on that, but I do believe it has been passed. That in D.C., which has been taken over, we know that because of its status, unfortunately, that it is not a state, and so it is subject to a lot of what 45 and his administration are doing. That they have put forth a bill or passed a bill to lower the age of people who can be tried as an adult from 16 to 14. Let that sit for a minute. From 16 to 14. And you've got, what's her name? Janine Pirro, however you say her last name, DC attorney, former Fox, whatever, who has said, and I wrote this down because but she said, where is it? I wrote it down. She said, I know what evil looks like, she said. This was part of her justification for saying crime is rampant in DC, especially among younger people, younger teens. And I have seen what evil looks like, meaning these kids. And so they are passing a law to lower the age of prosecuting teenagers, already teenagers at 16, but now prosecuting teenagers at the age of 14 as adults. What is with all of this, all of these demands and to release, and even as the MAGA faithful have talked about pedophiles having done this with the Epstein victims or survivors is what a lot of people have chosen to call it. What was this age that we kept hearing about? As young as 14, perhaps younger, but that 14-year-old thing has been said a lot. What I'm getting is there is a distinct effort, because they know there's only a matter of time, whether it is now or even if by whatever means, whatever they're praying to, whatever dark forces they're praying to continue to delay this thing. As Eric Swalwell said, when that house changes, those files will be made public at some point. And this changing that law to prosecute 14-year-olds, Epstein survivors, pedophilia, 14-year-olds, connecting the dots. Is there an effort to do this because to say that they could be held accountable as adults to mitigate the idea that they were necessarily pedophiles? That 14-year-olds can be considered in the eyes of the law to be adults. Now, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe. But I'm about to do some cards here and see what Spirit says, because that's definitely what came to me, you all. All right, we have the Six of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. How do we move? How do we begin to shift this? I keep hearing the word grooming, but meaning grooming people politically, especially the far right folk, to groom them, to begin to plant that seed that a 14-year-old is not necessarily a child. I have the Nine of Wands because they feel weighed down by the fact that they have not been able to come out from under this Epstein file situation. They're continuing to switch the headlines. They're continuing to lob, and throw everything against the wall to try and divert attention. But it will not go away. This is something that will not go away. So, Spirit, the Six of Swords, moving forward. All right? I paused because I almost feel like that's a timing element, like 6 weeks, perhaps. That something along the lines of increased pressure to release the files, or that they are trying to figure out a period of time that they are trying to slowly introduce, because I get it. Thank you. I get a little slow sometimes. Y'all know I'm almost 65. I'm trying. All right, check it out. That this six of swords refers to like moving forward, like over a period of time. They are trying to figure out how to take enough time to take what they've been doing, take what they've done in DC, because they had the power to do it, lowering the age from 16 to 14, to national courts, national systems, family court systems, juvenile court systems. They want to they're using this as a guinea pig test case, as they have with the, with the National Guard, etc. But to use that and then be able to replicate it around the country, even in some of these red states. Am I getting that right, Spirit? Is that what that Six of Swords is about? It's almost like in the Five of Wands, because they see the conflict coming. But that is also a conflict in terms of, thank you, Spirit. We've been waiting and saying for the longest time, when is the MAGA faction going to wake up? When are they going to realize that they've been had, that they've been, this is taking us all down a path that we don't want to go down, right? Regardless of our political beliefs or affiliations. So there's the conflict. When they decide, Six of Swords, as they try and plot and plan their next project 26-27, to spread this across the country, lowering the age of what could be considered an adult, or the age of accountability, right? That there's going to be a pushback. That may be a bridge too far for some of the, I'm hearing, for some of the elected officials, even in deep red states, to sell to the public. Is the goal to begin to, before the release of those files, to begin to have people see 14-year-olds as adults? Seven of Wands. But because this comes in a lower energy, meaning not lower energy, but it's not a major arcana. It's a fight. Basically, it's going to be a fight. And with that Five of Wands that we saw as well, conflict and arguing and fights over that, it's going to be a huge fight. So I actually see that as good news, you all. That is the intention. That was their intention. They're doing everything. This is like, it's beyond twisted, but they're doing everything. This isn't just about criminalizing young people, especially in in cities with predominant minority communities like DC. This is tied to two things. One, the Epstein files, and seeing a 14-year-old as perhaps accountable, or somewhat of an adult, right? Changing the paradigm of what even a child is, right? That's part of what they're hoping. But the second part of that, I got to pick up and come and refresh. The second part of that I just heard is, remember, even as it regards deportations, and we've been talking about who's going to pick up the farms, the service sector, the labor, right? And you've got all of these, educational defunding education across the country, and we know what's been happening with that, with McMahon, ever since she took over Department of Education. We've already seen what's happening with that. So going back to the issue of children and young people and what they can do, this feels like a concerted push to not only try and change people's minds about who a child is as it relates to the Epstein files, which will eventually be released, but also to push the labor market. Because if you can convict young people, especially, or anyone, and put them in the prison system, in a penal system, can you? Page of Swords. That's the plan, you all. Or at least that's part of the plan. Swords, thoughts, but it's new. Somebody has come up with the fact that, hey, we've got to come up with people who will do this and have no choice but to replace this labor. Have no choice but to do it. Young people. Wow. Six of Wands. It's going to be a fight. Spirit, will this get defeated? At least on a national scale, will this get defeated? And I'm also getting, it will, Nine of Pentacles. It will, because it's not sustainable. But they are going to try and feed more, the promise of money, the promise of the federal government putting money into states who are willing to implement programs to prosecute. Because this whole crime thing, sending more troops or more agents into states to tamp down crime, crime being a serious MAGA thing, that's their torch bearing thing. But there's a bridge too far aspect to this, you all. There's just a bridge too far aspect to this. And when we start talking about children, there's some sort of disconnect there where it will be beyond outrage. It will be a simple no, full stop. We're not going to start criminalizing 14-year-olds so that they are pulled out of schools, they have no education, they have no future, and they wind up, out somewhere in the service sector or parsed out to farms. That's not going to happen. All right. So twisted as it is, I do think that's good news. And we have seen, and Lord knows it's difficult. I was looking at myself this morning. I took a trip, so I got a little fancy. I went and got some nails on, right? And I was thinking, I was like, gee, we're all hanging on. And I was like, well, maybe that's part of why I got these nails, so I could just clawing my way, hanging on to knowing that this is a matter of time. Astrologically, historically, everything they are throwing everything possible at the walls to try and keep us off balance, to try and continue to change the narratives of what we know, what we believe, what we can see with our eyes. They're trying to do that every single day. And every single day, there are efforts to fight back against that. Okay? One by one by one by one. So truly, there's a time aspect here, and I go back to what gave me chills when Eric Swalwell said that, Democrat out of California said, look out, Brendan Carr, because when we come, you better go and get a look. Matter of fact, you might want to go ahead and get one on retainer now if you haven't done so already, because you are very high up on the list. That sort of energy, it is coming. We will see new media. We will see a different type of leadership, but it is going to take place over time, and we will never go back. We will never have the wool pulled over our eyes. to the extent that that was not even, I hope you all won't get mad at me for this, but to the extent that was not even just on the MAGA faction. That was not just even on the white supremacists or the extreme conservatives. That was also to an extent, I think, on everybody, not those who just did not vote, but also those of us who believed this could not happen. Even though we were told, Kamala told us, everybody was telling us this could happen. And we were like, this is America. Come on. Come on. Even those dipshits, pardon my language, even those dipshits in Congress, like they're not gonna, who's gonna want to sit back quietly and watch their power be usurped? Totally. No, it can't happen. And it did, but it won't happen again. This is a lesson learned. This is a lesson learning, right? Yeah, it's going to be a very, very different scenario in the coming years. But step by step, we got to get into 2026. Woo, I worked up a sweat on that one, you all. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut off now. I really appreciate you. Check out my membership. There's a link to that below. I meet once a month, private Zoom meeting, and we get into different topics. Have a ball doing that. Would love to have you there. For my members, I thank you so very much. We do it the last Friday of every month. I'll be sending out or posting something next week, early next week, to give you a reminder about that. Look forward to seeing you and hanging out with you. And take really good care. I should check back here with you on Sunday as well. All right. We know that Sunday is the big day in Arizona for you-know-who's funeral. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be quite the show. All right. I'll talk to you real soon. Chin up. Shoulders back, right? Know who you are. Know who you are in this time. Know what you stand for, what you believe. And do not allow fear and terror is what they want. Then they've won. Don't do it. And keep, everything comes from here, from the heart. Breathe. Affirm your life and the lives of those around you and those you love, right? Take really good care of yourself and one another, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.